On January 30th, 1933, the 12 years of torture had begun. During this time, Jews were murdered and slain due to their religion. Around 6 million have died during those past 12 years. Those people, those Jews, were families and friends who were just living their own life without a care in the world, like any normal human being. However, there were survivors who hid or ran during these times, and one of them was Edith Goldberg. She was born on May 13, 1928, and lived in a small village named Teschenmosel near Kaiserslautern, Germany. Her village only had 200 people, but over time many left or died, and those who have died there had a Jewish cemetery. She lived a fairly normal life with her mother, father, and her little sister. She lived in a little shop where her and her family sold goods to others while her father worked out in the barn. However, things started to change in 1933. Edith was only 5 and started going to Hebrew school in 1933. However, she was only able to go 3 or 4 times since many things were changing for her and her family. People stopped coming to their shop and they were unable to sell any goods, causing them to go out of business. Then one day her uncle returned home to the village after being forced out of his job in Frankfurt. Many Jewish families started leaving, but her family couldn't because her mother took care of the elderly in the village. A few nights later, on November 1938, an officer took away her father and uncle in the middle of the night. Everything in the local synagogue for the Jews was taken outside and burnt. They finally realized how badly it became. Shortly after Kristallnacht, Edith's mother traveled to Cologne to see if she could get her husband and brother released. They returned after 2 or 3 weeks. Edith remembers them being changed after their experience, quiet and reluctant to talk. Shortly after Kristallnacht, the Nazis ruled that all Jewish children had to leave school. Then suddenly there wasn't a Jewish school in the vicinity and she no longer went to school at all. During this time, Edith's mother found a person from England who would take Edith and her sister as refugees. Edith's parents took Edith and her sister to Frankfurt to meet the other children traveling out of Germany and were put into the care of 2 16-year-old girls. She remembered seeing her mother crying while her father looked at her and her sister sternly, and little did she know this was the last time she ever saw them again. Sadly, she knows little about her parents' fate other than the most basic information. They were transported to Camp de Gurs in 1940 and then sent to the Auschwitz-Birkenau in 1942, where they were murdered. The story taught me a very important lesson of not taking things for granted. In her story, she states how much her family had to struggle to keep her and her sister alive to allow them to have a good and stable life. Unfortunately, in 2013, Edith passed away and all her friends and family miss her dearly.